welcome in to an episode of the Boardroom Podcast. I am Ward 4 Alderman Chad Wicker. I am flying solo again. My partner there, Ben Piper, who I think it's no secret, started a new job at I don't know if he wants me to share the place. So anyway, he started a new sales job and just about got his head above water. He's had to do a bunch of initial training and things to get back so he can have some more free time to do the podcast. It's, besides being alderman and soccer coaches and booster club presidents and all this other things, he's also works a full-time job. So still hadn't been able to make our schedules work. I think we're about through that. So hopefully have him back live with us at our next meeting. So guys, I'm going to jump right into it. This is probably one of the most significant issues we've faced since I've been on the board of aldermen in my term. But I'm going to spend today's podcast talking about what we learned last night at the board meeting, that our financial situation with the city of Hernando is not the best. Not the best, I guess, is a fair way to say it. So we learned last night that the utility fund is basically underwater. There's more money allocated to be spent than revenue projected to come in. The number last night used was $2.6 million. I think there's maybe some thought it's not quite that much money, but anyway, there is an issue there. And so, and let me preface this conversation with this, guys. I'm not going to spend this podcast pointing fingers or blaming anyone as to how we got here or why we got here. I'm going to give you the facts of the situation that we're in, maybe some suggestions about how we're going to get out of it. And at some point in the future, we will have time to digest, analyze, audit what happened. So I'm going to start back. I am a member of the city's finance committee. This is something that is new. We just started this budget cycle. So we formed this committee. See, this is where Ben comes in, because he's usually here to help me. But I think somewhere time in July, 1st of August, we had a few meetings during the budget time. And the committee is the mayor, the city clerk, the deputy city clerk, myself, Alderman Lynch, Alderman Piper, and Ed, our chief financial officer. And so we meet periodically. We had a meeting, I think the middle of January, and at that meeting, the mayor informed the committee that he felt like, we had a meeting on January 12th, that he had some serious concerns about the long-term solvency of the utility fund. Okay, so I think here would be a good time to explain what exactly the utility fund is, because I think there is some confusion out there. So the city of Hernando has several different funds or accounts, however you want to say it. The most prevalent and one most people know about is the general fund. So that's where, when you pay your property taxes, when you pay your fees to the planning commission or to the planning for different things, when you pay other fees associated with government service besides garbage, sewer, water, that goes to the general fund. That fund funds the police department, the fire department, the mayor's office, the alderman, the planning commission, dispatchers, the majority of the city, the parks department. Although the parks department does have another fund separate from the general fund that we get from when you stay at a hotel in Hernando. A piece of that goes to a separate fund for the parks, but that's not a whole lot of money. Okay. The utility fund, which is the one that's has the projected deficit, is a enterprise fund, which means it is supposed to be self-sustaining. What I mean by that is the revenue it receives for the services, garbage, sewer, water, DeCrua, is supposed to cover its expenses. You're not supposed to use, for a lack of a better word, taxpayer dollars to subsidize that account. When you pay your garbage bill, and also that's another common misconception that we hear. In Hernando, the garbage, the sewer, the DeCrua, the trash, the brush is all on one bill. So if you're comparing that bill to other municipalities, make sure you're comparing apples to apples. We put all ours on one bill. And there's certain parts of Hernando that are not a part of the Hernando water system. They may be on Nesbitt water. Well, I think everybody else is on Nesbitt water. So they receive a bill just for the garbage pickup, the brush pickup. They have a recycling can and so forth. So there's a couple exceptions there. But getting back to the utility fund, it's supposed to be self-sustaining. I don't know exactly what occurred. We're still trying to learn. The reasons we were given at the meeting last night is that for years we've seen some increases in our garbage rates, and we haven't offset that by increasing the fees to the residents to subsidize the difference. The city's been subsidizing the difference, and so we've lost some money there. DeCrua, which is the DeSoto County Regional Utility Authority, which is the wastewater treatment plant for DeSoto County, charges us X amount, $3.71 per 1,000 gallons of water that goes through their system. We charge the residents of Hernando $3.84 for everything that goes down the drain. And ideally, those numbers of usage that go down the drain and go through their system should match. And that should be, a net increase, or we would make a little bit of money, which is going to cover the cost of our pipes getting to DeCrua, supposedly, and be a net neutral. However, what we learned, and we've known about some of this, is what they call I, or inflow and infiltration in the system, where there's certain parts of the city that have cracks in the sewer lines, manholes that are broken, where water is getting into the sewer and going through the system. Allegedly rainwater. Supposedly, well, no, not supposedly. Rainwater is getting into the sewer system, and that's going out to the DeCrua's pumps, and they're charging us to clean that water as if because they can't determine if it's rainwater or sewer. And so they charge us what goes through their meter. If it's rainwater or if it's sewer, they have no way to determine the difference. And so what has happened, according to the mayor, and some of this is accurate information, we have seen for the last several years quite a bit more flow than what we've charged the customers. And so the city has been subsidizing that cost as well. So let me explain to you how DeCrua bills the city. What they do is they kind of take an average of what they think the flow will be each year. They take that number, divide that by 12, and that's the payment we pay every month. At the end of their fiscal year, they then do what they call a true-up, where they take how much money, how much sewer actually went through the meter compared to what we pay, and if it's more, we have to pay the additional fee. If it's less, they give us a refund back, kind of like your income tax. Okay? The last several years, that's been quite a large number we've had to pay to true up what we owe. In fact, I think in the year 2023 to 24, that true up was $610,000. That has put us at a deficit. Okay? We've also, our water fees have not changed since 2017. That'd be 9 budget cycles where the water rate has not changed. I think the mayor would argue that the inflation, and over those 9 years, it costs more to get water out of that tower into your house. Okay? We've been subsidizing that cost. We also learned last night that apparently when this is an allegation, I don't know if it's true or not, I'm just putting the information out there. Our public works director, who quit in August, left some bills on his desk, is what we were told, and those bills were not paid in a timely manner, and so they did not come out of last year's budget. They had to be paid out of this current year's budget, and that put us $700,000 or so in the arrears. Also, the mayor stated last night that he made some mistakes when putting the budget together, and along with that, not calculating that $700,000 for those 2 invoices to DeCrua. Also, overestimated revenue by $656,000. Essentially, he put a loan into the budget that was not going to be taken out. So all those factors together has led us to a situation that we're in where we have a substantial deficit in our utility fund. That's kind of just a direct, straightforward reason of where we're at and how we got here. Like I said earlier, there will be some time later to look into that further, address that, and make sure it doesn't happen again. So, as an alderman, we are responsible for approving the budget, approving expenditures by the city based on every month we get a expense and revenue report. I think everybody had an idea that we were seeing some depletion of our contingency, our surplus in the utility fund. We knew that was happening. I don't think anybody knew it was quite the extent it was happening. However, we were aware of that. I did not support the budget that was passed this October. I did have some concerns about some of the revenue. I thought maybe some of it was overstated, not just in the utility fund, but in the entire budget. And so I decided not to support the budget. I wish I'd have been more vocal about that at the time, but I was not. However, the board of aldermen was presented with a balanced budget. And no one had any idea how bad shape the account was in until that finance committee meeting on, I think I said January 14th. So, That's the situation we're in. I don't think this is a situation. I know there's been some allegations that maybe people are stealing money. There's calls for an audit. I certainly would love any kind of independent inquiry to see if there is some illegal activity, but I've seen nothing to support that. I don't think that is the case. I think this is a combination of several things. I think a combination of spending more than you have, and I think a combination of trying to keep rates as low as possible is how we ended up in this particular situation. So, with that being said, let's talk about maybe ways to get out of it. Last night at the Board of Aldermen meeting, after a very lengthy discussion, the board voted 4-3 to approve adjusting the garbage rates to the actual rate that we are charged by our vendor Waste Connections. That's not going to go in effect. We have to advertise that for 30 days, and then we'll have to take another vote on that resolution on, I think, March 3rd. And then you'll see that on your April 2026 bill. Now, that is, I would say, a substantial increase. It's going from $22 a month to $28 a month for your garbage. Now, if you do not live in the city limits, this is not going to affect you. If you do not live in the city limits, you are on the county garbage system. There's quite a bit of you, I think, that or have Hernando water but do not have Hernando garbage. Okay? That should slow the burn, I guess you would say. We also took some, we've talked about this account on this podcast in the past. There's a Mississippi Infrastructure Modernization Act that gives us, basically when you buy things online and pay the sales tax, a percentage of that comes back to the city. We get that twice a year. It's about $850,000 to $900,000 every 6 months. That account has about $3 million in it right now. That's what we use to pave the roads and different things. It has to be used for infrastructure. The mayor got a approval, I guess you would say, or he got confirmation from the state auditor. You can use the interest accrued on that money, which is actually quite a bit of money. It's approximately $270,000. Put that into the utility fund to cover the shortfall. That should give us a little breathing room. There's going to be some hard decisions to come. There's no doubt about it. There's essentially only two ways to balance a budget. You have to decrease expenses or combination of raise revenue. So that's the only way to do that. So I know the mayor is working with his team to come up with some suggestions. I think they are going to try to run a pretty bare bones budget. In the meantime, when I say raise revenue, the only way to do that would be increase either water rates, the rate we charge you for the DeCrua, or garbage rates more than we have. I don't think you'll see any more changes to your garbage rates. There's going to be some serious discussion, I think, about increasing water rates. I think there's going to be some serious discussion about increasing DeCrua rates. Those, in my opinion, this is just Chad talking, Ward 4 Alderman, is that those are going to be the last options that I take. I think there's some other things we can do. I don't know We still haven't got an exact number of what our monthly operating costs are, how much we need each month to make payroll, to pay the crew, to pay Waste Connection, to pay to pay the energy bill, the internet bill, the debt service on some of the loans we have. Once we get that information, then we can see what kind of revenue we have coming in, and that's going to give us a good idea of what we can do. Is there anything else we can cut? So that's kind of where we're going forward. I think we're going to have some more discussion at the next board meeting on February. I guess that's going to be February 17th, and go from there. This is a tremendously bad position to be in. I'm really frustrated that we're in this position. I'm frustrated that we were kind of blindsided by this. But, I'm speaking for me, but I have had conversation with some of the other guys on the board, some of the other girls on the board. We're going to get through this together. We're going to get this train back on the tracks, one way or another. So let me, address some of the things I posted a pretty lengthy post on social media this morning, kind of just breaking down some of the things I just spoke about, and so people kind of have an understanding of what's going on. I have nothing to hide. The city has nothing to hide. There's, if somebody did something wrong somewhere, something illegal, I hope they're prosecuted and thrown in jail. I do not think that's the case. And, pointing fingers or making, social media posts alleging such is just not going to help us get a balanced budget in the utility fund. And so, if you are aware of any illegal activity, if you're aware of someone writing themselves checks or whatever is out there that happened, please let me know. Let the state auditor know. Let the sheriff's department know. Whatever you think you feel comfortable talking to, and we can go from there. That's kind of where we're at with it. It's a bad situation. We thought, the board thought they approved a balanced budget, and 4 months in the budget, we're not balanced. We're basically out of at a point where you barely can make your payroll. We learned last night, according to the mayor, that there's $30,000 in that account. That's drastically low for what needs to be in there. When you think about just our accrual payment a month is $308,000. That our average, it's not average, our Waste Connection payment once a month is about $125,000. Our payroll is about $150,000 a month. So we do have the way it works typically is, and we've done this in years past, where once we get our property taxes in the general fund, we will loan the utility fund some funds to help stabilize it until we can decide how we're going to proceed, either raising rates or laying people off or selling equipment or whatever comes up, whatever we decide to do as a board. And so we should be getting the rest of our property taxes in here in the next couple of weeks, and then another big trough of that into February, 1st of March. So I'm probably going to title this podcast, "Is Hernando Going Bankrupt?" Because I think there's a sentiment out there. No, No, we're not. Certainly not in an ideal financial position, but no, police cars are still going to run. Your fire truck is still going to come. Your water's still going to run. We just have to basically fix what I would call a very serious cash flow issue. So that's kind of where we're at. There may be some special call meetings. There may be other things to address. On my Facebook post, I put my cell phone number there. If you have any other questions or concerns, please reach out to me. I'll be happy to address. I've been fielding calls all day. I'm just going to tell you the facts. I'm not blaming anybody. I'm not blaming any employee. At this time, I don't think that's going to be to the benefit of our citizens. There will be time to hold people accountable for their action or lack of action. But right now, we've got to get through this crisis. And we will. Again, if you have any questions, concerns, statements, you just want to cuss me out, blame me for your taxes or your garbage rates going up, I'll be glad to hear it. That's what I ran for office for, is to better my community and to hopefully make Hernando a better place to live, work, and raise a family. And we'll get there. We will get past this and move on. Everybody's waiting on a train.